It was an overcast Thursday when the doctor said the word, lymphoma. He paused after it, as though letting the weight land first. The kind of pause doctors must rehearse. The kind where time stretches and then folds. Ethan Cross sat across from him, 41 years old, grease under his fingernails and work boots still damp from the shop floor. He didn't blink. The doctor leaned forward. It's stage 2, slow-moving, treatable, but the treatment will be long. Ethan only nodded. There was a strange calm in his chest. Not panic, not even sadness, just stillness. He drove home with the radio off. Every sound of the world outside muffled, the gravel under his tires, the groan of the transmission, the quiet whistle through the air vent. The world wasn't breaking, it was pausing. Holding its breath, he tried calling Claire, his wife of 6 years. Her phone went to voicemail. "Hey, I just left the clinic. Can we talk tonight?" "No," replied Dot. By the time he reached home, the living room was too clean. One of the beige throw pillows missing, a set of photo frames gone from the bookshelf. He walked into the bedroom. Half the closet hangers were bare. A suitcase missing. Then the message came. 5 words. Asterisk, asterisk, I didn't ask for this. Asterisk, asterisk, below it, a screenshot of their emptied savings account. Claire had transferred every dollar, just over $40,000, into a separate account. One he couldn't access. He stared at the message. Let the stillness in his chest deepen into something colder. He typed back just one line. Asterisk, asterisk, that's one way to leave. Asterisk, asterisk, no anger, no begging, no reply. He opened a bottle of sparkling water from the fridge, sat on the porch, and watched a freight train crawl across the edge of the horizon. The sun was setting behind a bank of low, heavy clouds. He'd never liked drama, not in people, not in life. It wasted time. So instead, he sat there in the quiet. A knock at the fence. It was Paul, the neighbor from 2 doors down, carrying a small bag of tools and a puzzled expression. Didn't see Claire's car? Everything all right? Ethan shrugged. Not exactly. Got a diagnosis this morning? Cancer. Paul blinked. Man, I'm sorry. What do you need? Ethan shook his head. Not much. Just trying to think. Paul nodded like a man who'd been through something once. Well, if you want someone to talk to or eat with. My wife made too much stew again. Ethan forced a small smile. Thanks. When Paul left, Ethan went inside and opened the drawer in his desk that contained exactly one folder, his legal file. His brother Marcus had helped him set it up last year. Marcus was an accountant, obsessed with organization and clean exits. He called it estate clarity, making sure nobody had to guess if things ever went sideways. Ethan had never thought he'd need it, but here he was. Claire's name was on several documents, but not all of them. Not the title to the old Ford Fairlane he'd rebuilt with his father before the man died. Not the investment portfolio from a factory job he left in his 20s, and thankfully not the property he inherited from his uncle just outside Pinedale. He checked the files carefully. Then he pulled out a pad of paper and began writing. Not a letter, not a rant. Just a list of what was his, what was hers, and what was about to become complicated. Claire didn't return that night, or the next. She didn't call, didn't ask questions, didn't offer explanations. But Ethan didn't chase. On Sunday afternoon, he drove up to Pinedale. The air smelled of juniper and dust. The property was quiet. 2 acres, a rotting barn, and a view of nothing but sky and silence. He parked by the edge of the fence, sat on the hood of his truck, and let the wind talk. This land had been his uncle's dream retreat. And now, maybe, it would be his reset button. Later that evening, as he drove back down the mountain road, Ethan decided on 3 things. He would begin treatment immediately. He would document everything. And he would not, under any circumstance, allow betrayal to rewrite the narrative of his life. Monday morning, he met with a paralegal from Marcus's firm named Dana. She was sharp, quiet, and didn't blink when he laid out the situation. I'm going to need to remove Claire from any claimable assets, he said simply. She already took the savings. Ethan nodded. Do you have the date and time? Same day I was diagnosed. 4 hours after I called her. Dana wrote that down. Text messages. I've got the one. That might be enough, she said. By that evening, Ethan had canceled the Conide credit cards. He updated the beneficiary names on his insurance. He filed paperwork to protect the Fairlane under sole ownership, one piece at a time. He took back control. The betrayal wasn't a wound anymore. It was a task, something to sort through. Protect against. Ethan had learned long ago that the way out of chaos was order. The next day, the hospital called to schedule his first chemo session. He didn't tell anyone. Not yet. There would be time for conversations, but for now, there was work to do. Asterisk. The first day of chemotherapy was colder than it should have been. Not the weather, just the room. Too white, too sterile. The recliner they gave him squeaked when he shifted his weight. A nurse named Leela, probably in her late 50s, adjusted the 4-line and asked, "Anyone with you today?" Ethan gave her a small shake of the head. Nah. Took the truck. She didn't pry, just smiled softly, tapped the line, and said, "First one's rough. After that, it's about rhythm." He nodded, and then he sat in stillness again. The kind that had followed him ever since Claire vanished. There was no grand announcement to anyone about what he was going through. No dramatic post on social media, no sympathy campaign, just quiet survival. He'd told Paul and his wife next door, mostly so they'd understand why the yard had gone to hell the next day. A tinfoil-covered tray showed up on his porch. No name, just a sticky note. *** heat at 354:25 minutes. No pressure to return the tray. ***, he didn't eat it that night, but he kept the tray warm in the oven, just in case the hunger returned. It didn't. That evening, after a spell on the bathroom floor and a few rounds of dry heaving, Ethan did something he hadn't wanted to do yet. He called his sister. Cancer. Brooke's voice broke over the line. And Claire? Gone, Ethan said. Jesus, Ethan. I'm all right. Just figured you should know, but don't drive up, not yet. Why? Because I'm not ready to be anyone's patient yet. There was a silence on her end. The good kind, the kind that understood boundaries. I'll wait 3 days, she finally said. Then I'm coming anyway. He smiled for the first time in days. Fine. For the following morning, he called the bank, asked when exactly the money was pulled. They gave him a timestamp, 3:18 p.m. 40 minutes after he called Claire from the clinic, she hadn't asked for details. Hadn't waited to hear prognosis or plan, she just transferred everything. $40,000. That number had always felt like security to him. Now it just felt like a receipt, a price tag on what someone could walk away from. He hung up and didn't move for a long time. Then, slowly, he opened his laptop and created a spreadsheet. ***, tab 1. Financial records, tab 2. ***, medical appointments, tab 3. Timeline of events, calls, texts, transactions, tab 4. Notes for attorney. If Claire wanted to make it about money, then he would meet her where she started. Not with rage, not with retaliation, but with precision. Ethan didn't get angry anymore. He just got prepared. The second round of chemo came faster than expected. His blood work was borderline, but still acceptable. This time, he brought noise-canceling headphones and listened to old jazz standards, his dad's favorites. The nausea didn't hit until that night, but when it did, it didn't come alone. There was a letter waiting in the mailbox. Postmarked from Claire's attorney. It was formal, cold, detached, ***, petition for divorce on grounds of irreconcilable differences, request for equitable division of marital assets. ***, no mention of the diagnosis, no acknowledgement of the funds. She'd already taken just bold underlines about the house. The retirement accounts. The Fairlane title she still thought she could claim. He took the letter to Marcus. His brother read it twice. So, she's not just running, she's trying to cash out. She thinks I won't fight, Ethan said. She's betting on you being too tired. They were both quiet. Then Marcus added, you know I don't say this lightly, but it might be time to go on offense. Ethan closed his eyes. I've been on defense since the moment she disappeared. I'm ready. The next week, Brooke arrived. She didn't say anything when she saw the hair loss or the weight drop. Just hugged him a little too long. She cleaned the fridge, labeled freezer meals, organized medications by time of day. One night, she found the divorce letter tucked behind a stack of insurance forms. She has a lawyer, of course she does. And she still wants half the house. Ethan just nodded. Brooke stared at him. You don't deserve this. No one does, he replied. But it's not about what I deserve, it's about what I'm going to allow. She stood a little straighter after that, as if her big sister mode had just activated. A week later, another envelope came. This one wasn't legal, just a plain white envelope with no return address. Inside, a single photo of Claire, smiling with a group of people he didn't know. A city skyline in the background, probably Seattle. No note, just the image. Ethan stared at it, wondering what the message was supposed to be. I'm doing fine. Without you, this is your fault. You're the one who got sick. Whatever it was, it failed to land. He slid the photo into a drawer he rarely opened and forgot about it. By the end of the month, Ethan had lost 16 pounds, but his white blood cell count had stabilized. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. Claire hadn't sent another message, but her lawyer had. This time, it was bolder. Demanding 50% of any future proceeds from the land in Pinedale, a share of the retirement fund, and most audaciously a claim on the Fairlane. Ethan read through it calmly, then picked up the phone. Marcus, he said. She's gone fishing. His brother chuckled darkly. Then let's give her a line to bite. Marcus called it the setup *. Ethan called it due diligence. Either way, it started with a visit to the Pinedale land office. The deed was still clean. Still under Ethan's name only. No liens, no pending disputes. Next came the bank transfer, moving funds from the sale into a temporary holding account, one not tied to his previous joint account. Then the DMV. The Fairlane title had been filled out 6 months earlier, but never filed. Ethan submitted the updated form with only his name on it. Official now. Legal. As he waited for the clerk to process the paperwork, he glanced at the photo of the car on his phone. Black, chrome trim, pristine finish. The one thing his father left him with no strings. Claire had never even liked the car, but now, it seemed, she wanted it on paper. Too late that night, Ethan spoke to Dana, the paralegal. She's not just asking for what she thinks she deserves, Dana said. She's hunting. She wants to leave with profit. Ethan leaned back in his chair. What do you recommend? We show her something to chase, Dana replied, and then we document her reaction. So Ethan made a few deliberate phone calls and speaker, with Marcus listening. One to a realtor, asking about * liquidating additional property assets, * another to his old HR contact at a former job, inquiring about early withdrawals on his small pension, and he requested an account statement from an old Roth IRA he hadn't contributed to in 5 years. None of it was fraudulent, but all of it was calculated, and then they waited. 3 days later, another letter arrived from Claire's lawyer. It referenced * future investment proceeds, and hidden assets being converted, a request to preserve all liquidity events in good faith, and a warning that any attempt to conceal earnings may result in legal consequences. Ethan almost smiled. She had taken the bait. That same afternoon, a text came in from an unknown number. **** Ethan, this is Claire. I know you're angry, but let's not turn this into something ugly. I'm willing to be fair. ***, fair. That word had started to lose meaning. Ethan didn't reply. Instead, he printed the text, filed it into the spreadsheet tab marked correspondence. Right? Under the original one, ***, I didn't ask for this. ***, he never deleted a thing. Week 5 of treatment was the worst so far. The fatigue had become bone deep, appetite vanished. His skin had turned a pale, almost translucent gray, and the mirror no longer showed the man who used to fix cars for 16 hours straight without flinching. Brooke returned for a few days, insisting on staying despite his protests. She cooked, cleaned, sat with him through silence. One night while folding towels, she said, "When this is over, what do you want to do?" "I don't know," Ethan said honestly. "I haven't thought past survival." "Start thinking," she told him, "because surviving shouldn't be the end. It should be the start." He nodded, unsure what to say that weekend. Dana showed up at his place with a thick file folder. "Here's what we have," she said. "Text messages, bank withdrawals, timeline of events, documentation of your diagnosis, Claire's knowledge of it, and the funds being transferred within the hour after your call." Ethan flipped through the papers. It was all there, organized with surgical precision. "Well, this whole..." Dana looked him straight in the eye. "She thinks you're weak. That's her mistake." The following Monday, Ethan sat in a small law office downtown. Across certainly * the mediation was scheduled for a Thursday morning. Neutral grounds, small conference room downtown. Glass walls, filtered water bottles on a tray like peace offerings. Ethan arrived 10 minutes early, dressed clean, simple button-down shirt, jeans, no tie. Camille was already there, reviewing a slim binder she'd brought. Nothing excessive, just facts. Claire arrived 6 minutes late, escorted by her lawyer, and unexpectedly her father, still in a tailored suit, still carrying that aura of practiced control. Ethan remembered the last time he'd spoken to the man. Hospital parking lot, the subtle threat hidden in soft words. Now, Claire looked different. Not sick, not sad, just curated, tanned hair, freshly done. No wedding ring. She didn't look at him. Her lawyer began first. Calm, neutral. "We understand your client has some concerns about the division of marital assets." Camille didn't smile. She simply opened the binder. "Let me be clear. This isn't a negotiation. This is a last courtesy before formal proceedings." She slid a packet across the table. "This is a full timeline of your client's actions, financial transfers, communications, and medical context." Claire shifted in her chair. Her father stiffened. Camille continued, voice low but clear. Claire emptied the joint account less than an hour after Mr. Cross notified her of his cancer diagnosis. "We have the timestamp. We have the call log. We have her message. He didn't ask for this." Her lawyer tried to interject. Camille didn't stop. "We also have documentation of her attempt to access additional accounts, claim property never legally owned, and demand further funds under the guise of equal division." She turned one page. "We have this." She slid out the photo of the $30,000 check Claire wrote to her parents. Joint funds, no disclosure, no consent. Claire's lawyer went pale. Her father leaned forward, suddenly less polished. "I think we should discuss options." Camille cut him off. "If you return the $40,000 in full, Claire will waive all further claims. The house, the car, the land, all his. No lawsuit, no criminal charges." She paused. "If not, we pursue recovery through court. We also explore accessory liability for any parties who accepted marital assets illegally, including you, sir." Claire finally looked up at Ethan, eyes glassy, mouth open slightly. He said nothing, not because he had nothing to say but because silence, in that moment, was stronger than any speech. Camille closed the binder gently. "You have 48 hours. That night, Ethan sat on the same porch where it had all started. The sky was clear this time, quiet. Not peace exactly, but close. Brooke called. Well, they cracked, Ethan said. Good. There was a pause. Then she asked, do you feel better? He thought about that. I feel done. The next morning, an email arrived. Claire had accepted the terms. The funds would be returned via certified cashier's check within 30 days. Her lawyer would prepare a document, relinquishing all rights to their shared assets. No apology, just submission. Camille forwarded the message with a note. Asterisk, asterisk, congratulations. You held the line. Asterisk, asterisk, Ethan didn't reply right away. Instead, he went into the garage, pulled the tarp off the fit lane, and stared at the engine block. He hadn't touched it in months. It was dusty, still sound, still beautiful. He grabbed a rag, wiped the hood. Not because it needed it, just because he could. 30 days later, the check arrived. Exactly $40,000. No note. No call. He took it straight to the bank, paid down a chunk of medical bills, left the rest where it belonged in his name, his account, untouched. Julia, the nurse at the front desk of his oncology clinic, was there when he handed in the payment receipt. She looked at him with that same steady gaze she'd always had. Your numbers look strong this week, she said. They feel strong, Ethan replied. She smiled. You're not done fighting. But you're winning. He nodded. For the first time since this all began. The win didn't feel like a rescue, it felt like a choice. The divorce papers arrived a week later. He signed them quietly. At Camille's office, with no emotion, not sadness, not relief, just clarity. Camille asked any questions. He shook his head. Just one. What now? She smiled. Now you build whatever comes next. That evening, Ethan called Joel, his old friend from Missoula, who'd always said, when you're ready, there's a spot here. Joel answered on the second ring. Still need a guy who knows carburetors better than computers? Always, Joel said. When can you be here? Soon. Ethan hung up, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and stepped out onto the porch. The wind carried the smell of cut grass and cooling pavement. His body was still healing, his hair just starting to grow back, but he felt rooted, present, whole. The morning, Ethan packed the last box into his truck. The sun hadn't yet broken through the clouds. He didn't need help. He didn't need ceremony. The house in Spokane had been stripped of personality, walls bare, rooms echoing, and yet somehow it didn't feel sad. Brooke had driven in the night before with cinnamon rolls and strong coffee. She hugged him at the driveway. You sure about Montana? She asked. He nodded. It's not about starting over. It's about starting right. Tim and Lisa from next door appeared with a small goodbye gift, homemade canned pickles, and a note that said, asterisk you always kept your head. We noticed asterisk. He thanked them. Not with words, but with presence, steady eye contact, a quiet handshake. When he drove off that day, the cab of his truck was silent, no music, no thoughts about Claire. Only the low hum of the road beneath him and the sense at long last of movement without weight. Missoula welcomed him with wide skies and cleaner air. Joel's shop was a converted barn on the edge of town, the kind of place that smelled like leather and oil and history. Ethan stepped inside and felt something he hadn't felt in months. Usefulness. Joel clapped him on the back. You look leaner, he joked, like a man who's seen things. Ethan smiled, a man who's done with pretending. He got the job without so much as a resume. The next day, he pulled on a pair of gloves and started wrenching again. The kind of work that made your hands hurt and your mind go still. And just like that, life didn't feel paused anymore. He bought a small place 30 minutes outside of town. A cabin. 2 bedrooms. A garage large enough to house the Fairlane and every tool he owned. The windows opened to pine trees. At night, the wind moved through them like a distant tide. He built a rhythm. Early mornings, work days spent rebuilding. Engines, weekends tuning machines that were too old for modern shops to care about. No drama, no echoes. He slept better than he had in years. 3 months passed. One evening, as he stood on his porch sipping tea, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message was short. Asterisk, asterisk, I heard you're in remission. I'm glad. I think about you often. I was scared and selfish. I'm sorry. Asterisk, asterisk, Claire. He read it twice. No. Anger surfaced. Oh, memory flared painfully. Just a thought. She still doesn't know who I became when she left. He typed back for words. Asterisk, asterisk, I survived. Be well. Asterisk, asterisk, then blocked the number. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about being free. One weekend, Ethan pulled the tarp off the fair. Not to sell it, not for nostalgia, but to restore it this time for himself. The car had been there through everything. Unlike people, it had never claimed to love him, only to vanish when life got hard. Unlike Claire, it hadn't run when things rusted or sputtered. It had simply waited. As he turned the wrench, cleaned bolts, and polished chrome, Ethan realized something. He wasn't rebuilding the past, he was refining the present. 6 months after the move, his oncologist delivered the words he had hoped for. Asterisk, asterisk, complete remission. Asterisk, asterisk, not a guarantee, not a cure, but a chance. He left the clinic, not with a fist pump or a celebratory post, but with a long breath through the nose and a longer walk through the woods behind his house. There were no crowds, no applause. Just the sound of birds and his boots crunching frost. That evening, a letter arrived, not from Claire, not from a lawyer, from Megan, Claire's cousin. Asterisk, I heard everything's finalized. My aunt is furious about paying back the money, but I wanted you to know I saw what really happened. Some of us did. I hope Montana gives you peace. You earned it. Asterisk, Ethan folded the letter and placed it in the drawer next to the photo Claire had once mailed. Two relics of a world he'd already left. There was no great ending, no triumphant ride into the sunset, just one man, on a quiet property, with a rebuilt car and a body still healing. Sometimes healing wasn't about undoing what happened, sometimes it was about deciding what to carry forward, and Ethan Cross carried only what served him, not the betrayal, not the bank statements, not the texts, just the lessons, the land, the freedom to rebuild. Some things, when broken, never return to their original shape, but in the hands of someone steady, someone quiet, become something stronger than Ethan. He was stronger now, asterisk.